All right there, everyone. Hillary Clinton admits that the nationalist right is taking over the media. That's right. The dethroned queen of the Democratic Party is actually admitting that conservatives have displaced the liberal left-wing corporatist globalist media as the dominant source for information in our nation and increasingly throughout the world. So we're going to take a look at what Clinton did in fact admit, and we're going to see how she's right. A number of studies confirm that the right-wing alternative media is dominating the left-wing mainstream media, and that dominance, in fact, has only just begun. You're going to absolutely love it. Welcome, one and all. A very, very happy Monday to each and every one of you. If this is your first time here, we post 2 videos a day analyzing current events in light of super awesome conservative trends so you can live in the present in light of even better things to come. So if you haven't already done so, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. It'd be an absolute privilege to have you as a regular part of this channel as we together each and every day get to celebrate the inevitable collapse of left-wing globalism and the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age. And before we get into the ongoing collapse of the mainstream media, make sure to download your free gift, which we put together just for you. We're calling it, of course, however appropriately, our fake news antidote, which is a compilation of over 20 sites that I go to for my news each and every day. You can download it completely free at the link down below in the pinned comment section. I think you're going to find it very enriching and you're going to really enjoy that resource. And finally, let's give you a shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that is our good friend. They are our great friends over at Noble Gold. Now, obviously, we're living in a very volatile time right now with the whole coronavirus situation, and that volatility, as you can see, is clearly affecting the stock market. So the question is, where will you be with your finances when this is all over? Will you be better off than you are today or worse? Now, the specialists over at Noble Gold want to protect your assets with a safety net made up of the trustworthiness and reliability of precious metals like gold and silver. Gold and silver are low-risk assets, and the best part is you can cash out whenever the dangers pass. So talk to one of the specialists over at Noble Gold today and see how they can help protect you and your family for what's coming. Click on the link below to get your free gold guide, or just simply give them a call at 877-646-5347, and you can check them out at noblegoldinvestments.com. All right, so let's dive right in here. Hillary Clinton was being interviewed by CNN's Fareed Zakaria the other day, and she was asked to respond to the fact that even though you had Super Tuesday last week, on that very day, the day of the Super Tuesday primaries, the most searched for article on Facebook was a Fox News story about a judge granting the request to reinvestigate Hillary's State Department emails that she kept on her personal server. It's so interesting that what Zakaria neglected to get into is the fact that we now know Hillary was actually never actually investigated for that. We know that the then acting FBI Director James Comey had colluded with the agent Peter Strzok, who was overseeing the Hillary investigation. We know they drafted a letter exonerating her of any wrongdoing before they ever interviewed her. But hey, you know, this is CNN, the most trusted name in news, right? So Zakaria asked Clinton to comment on the fact that even though last Tuesday was the single most important day thus far in the Democrat presidential nominating process, who cares? The most popular searched for story had nothing to do with the Democrats, or it had everything to do with Hillary possibly getting reinvestigated, or of course better actually investigated this time. So she was asked to comment on that, and she admitted that as far as she was concerned, that example he brought up was proof that what she called the right-wing echo chamber has mastered social media in a way that the liberal left has not. She cited specifically Fox News and Breitbart as leading the trend to push news more from a right-wing conservative vantage point, and that they've been highly successful at this precisely because they've learned to exploit the algorithms so as to bring right-wing propaganda in the feeds of millions and millions of people. So in her words, she said she begrudgingly gives Fox and Breitbart and the right-wing media as a whole a lot of credit because they are effectively shaping a new narrative that centers around nationalist populist themes, which are effectively drowning out left-wing mainstream opposition, right? In other words, the right is winning. We're winning the information battle, which was once the sole monopolistic property of the liberal left. Hillary Clinton is now admitting that the right has effectively taken over the media. I just want that to set in with you for a moment. Think that through. Hillary Clinton, the once queen of the Democrat Party, in many respects, the dethroned queen of the Democratic Party, is admitting that the messaging and information coming out of the media today is primarily dominated by the nationalist populist right. Now, I could not possibly ask for a greater endorsement for our fake news antidote ebook, right? Which, again, you can get completely free by clicking on that link below. I think we've had, by the way, nearly 10,000 downloads of it. It's been so awesome. What a great resource for you. But I really couldn't possibly think of a better endorsement for what I argue in that ebook. But the argument that I make is rather basic. We are in the midst of a massive paradigm shift in terms of how we consume news and information. And I point out in particular to a fascinating article. It was published shortly after Trump successfully won the election, and it was entitled How Matt Drudge Won the 2016 Election, which underscored the influence, the alternative media on world events. Now, of course, this is before Matt Drudge became a turncoat and started shilling for Nancy Pelosi and hating on Trump. But the piece was very good because it noted that we are, in fact, transitioning from the old media context that largely lectures its constituents on news events and interpretations to a new network society wherein the constituents are active participants in what constitutes a news event and its variant interpretations. This is what Hillary hates so much. Hillary and CNN want to arrogate themselves to the position of lecturing you and dictating to you the news. They and they alone know what's important and what isn't. And you just need to just sit there and just listen and obey. But those days are over as the liberal left is finding out the hard way. In the new cyber news sphere, we get to choose what news media we trust most. The old days of three major network news organizations that held a collective monopoly over news and information are over, and thank God for that. The fact of the matter is that the vast majority of the population here in the United States and increasingly around the world simply don't believe the mainstream corporatist globalist media anymore. And that's largely because more and more people see a glaring gap, a stark breakdown between the media's depiction of reality that's so ridiculously skewed towards the radical left and their own experience of reality. In other words, the rise of the alternative media has exploited that radical discrepancy between the mainstream media's rhetoric and the news consumer's experience of reality, right? And it's increasingly the alternative media that's successfully linking together rhetoric with reality. It's on the so-called, it's the intellectual dark web, right? That you find confirmation that, yes, unfettered open borders are a disaster to a nation. Yes, globalist economic policies have in fact oppressed the manufacturing and industrial sectors in any nation. No, migration and demographic change does not always change our nation for the better. And it doesn't make you a racist to think that way. No, loving your country and its traditions does not entail that you hate everyone else outside of it. So I don't think we have to be geniuses here, okay? Left-wing liberal rhetoric is far and away removed from reality. In fact, I would argue that this is the downfall of leftist liberalism in general. It's at war with reality. And a media culture that's at war with reality while at the same time claiming to be a reliable mediator of reality is not a tenable or viable enterprise. Here's another tidbit to show you just how amazing the rise of the right-wing alternative media has been of late. I've been coming across a number of articles that have been reluctantly written. I'm thinking of a relatively recent article from the ultra-liberal Columbia Journalism Review. There was another one from Axios that observed a rather peculiar surge in conservative media since Trump won the presidency. And it's peculiar because, generally speaking, Ideological media outlets take off when a president from the other political side is in power. So we saw that with the once rise of Rachel Maddow's ratings, right? When she was the queen of primetime, the 9 o'clock news hour, during the height of the whole Russian collusion scandal that she promised would once and for all bring down President Trump. Of course, that was all before her dramatic ratings crash ever since the release of the bumbling Bob Mueller's report. She's basically seen her audience cut in half. But the general trend is that ideological media outlets take off when a president from the other political side is in power. Just think of the way Rush Limbaugh took off during the Clinton years or Glenn Beck during the Obama years. That's the general pattern. What's so bizarre here, what's so unusual of late, is that during the age of Trump, it's precisely conservative nationalist media that is growing and thriving. So according to the study, the Columbia Journalism Review, there are currently about 20 conservative websites which attract at least 1 million unique visitors per month, which is excellent traffic. And many of them are featured in our fake news antidote, by the way. So make sure to download it again. You're going to love it. That's 3 plugs. I snuck those in there. But all this just further confirms that we are indeed seeing right now a conservative revolution like no other. I mean, it's happening at all levels. It's not just politics, right, where we celebrate the nationalist populist right increasingly taking over all over the world. It's not just economics, where globalism is being increasingly replaced with economic nationalism. It's not just the family, where we've talked about the demographic revolution, where conservatives are having lots of kids and secular liberals, well, aren't. No, it's most especially happening at the level of the media, where the corporatist globalist networks that once had a monopoly over the information we had access to are fast becoming the minority. They are being replaced with a thoroughly conservative, nationalist, populist, and traditionalist media network of a huge number of alternative sites that together are creating a distinctively conservative media culture that in many ways has only just begun. Before you go, you'll definitely want to check out my video that I just uploaded on President Trump suing CNN for defamation and how it's all part of a larger trend among conservatives to take the fake news media to court. You're going to absolutely love it. So make sure to click on the link and I'll see you over there. God bless.